late and they miss that part. So when they miss a part, I have them sit to the side and make sure they update their notes. Calculated procedures, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but y equals. This is telling me the first part of the equation I'm going to put in y1, the second part of the equation. Now you have first and second. What's dividing first and second is going to be the equal sign in the equation. So once you put that in, you're going to go second window and you're going to type the answer choice in. Why are you typing the answer choice in? Because you want the table to now start on that x value to see if both y1 and y2 are equal. If they are equal, that's your solution. If they're not equal, that's not your solution. So it's baby steps. I'm giving them foundation of calculator skills. Demonstration, we're gonna do it. Now see, we have the equal sign. So in y1 of the calculator, pull the calculator up. Show you the whole run through. 1 second. This is how I have it in my room. TI-80 for calculator. And I find the online one. And I start it. And then I split the screen. So I go back to my...
And this is the same calculator they get on the STAR test?
This is the exact same calculator as on the STAR test. And this is how I do it. Your computer's not doing it. You kind of got that outdated one. You need to upgrade. Anyway,
You need to, you want to split?
y equals, we plug that first portion in of the equation, which I'm going to demonstrate it for them. So the first portion is on the left side of the equation. We write it in y1, 1.25, parentheses, 4x. And they're going to follow along with their calculator as well. They have theirs in their hand. Let's say minus 10.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. I'm getting a little old, my eyes. 7.5. Now, I have both portions of the equation in. Now the step, which I'll have on the board and I'll be referencing. As I'm referencing, they have to tell me what's the next step. I'm not telling them, they're telling me. And that fourth step says go to the window. And we're gonna plug in the first answer choice. So we're gonna go second window, and now we plug in the first answer choice, which is 3.5. And then the steps, then the last step tells us go back to second graph. Second graph shows the table. And when they got their warm-ups, handouts, and then I got my tracker. So every Thursday, my district math coordinator, she set up a test that's already built in over what we learned. So then they'll test, at the end, I'll write their grade in, and they'll check what they didn't get as far as approach, meets, and masters, and I sign off each week. So week 1 was equivalent expressions, and week 2 gonna be solutions.
With their exit ticket, is it paper or do they just show you the answer on the
The
calculator?
exit ticket, so I do it different ways. So the warm-up typically could be, they'll write it, regular piece of paper, they grab it when they walk in class. Since I printed this out, they can do their exit ticket on the back.
Okay.
It'll be hole punched, and all exit tickets and student practices go in handouts. So it'll be, they'll write the exit ticket because it's small. It's just.
And what do you do with the exit ticket once you collect that?
Which means we go over at the end.
Okay.
Class in, and about 80%, if not 90%, of the class would know how to do the question.
So basically you get that immediate feedback,
Yes,
right?
They'll know. At that point, especially, so I have Monday and Tuesday to really get them to understand it. And then Wednesday we break in stations, Thursday we test over it. So by Tuesday, everybody pretty much is like, oh, same thing. It's just, it becomes repetitive.
Routine.
So, yeah, that's what I'm doing Monday. And then the the slides kind of continue on for me.
So obviously they rejected. They'll come in my class. We'll do their do now, their warm up. We'll get through that, and then I'll have this set up on the board once we go through the warm up. The warm up I have for them on Monday is a little review from some stuff that we did last week about authors' words and diction and syntax, which will tie into this a little bit. So the objective today, we're going to analyze characteristics of an argumentative text. We're actually going to begin writing for real, and I'm going to try to take them through a process. You guys today, I'll go through a process to show you what are the main things that we're looking for. What's interesting about writing is that it goes two ways, right? When you're identifying for a STAR test and you're looking through these elements and these structures, you can identify to answer questions for multiple choice. If you know what you're looking for, when they ask a question, you go, oh, that's the author's claim, I know where to find that. And then vice versa, when you go to write, you know the correct things to put down that you're being tested over to assess to make sure you have those elements to get your scores. All right, so we're analyzing these characters. What are the characteristics and structures of an argumentative text? You guys can take a moment, talk about that. If you know some things, some of you guys that have been in English for a while, what are some things that you think that you need? I'm going to move along quickly, but that's what we'll do. We'll have a discussion. All right, argumentative text contains clear and arguable claim. I want to point something out to y'all. We hear the term thesis a lot, right? Anybody heard that term? Thesis statement. A thesis statement is a claim. But when you're arguing, you're making a claim. To be very, very clear about that. When we're doing an argument, and this is probably the biggest thing to learn today, if you're making an argument, you're asking that reader to make a change. There's something that you're persuading that they're doing. There has to be an action that is going to happen at the result. And just a plain thesis, you're just saying this is what we're talking about. This is the information. But when you're making an argument, you're asking for something to happen, okay? You're moving from a point A to a point B. So that is where the claim is involved, okay? You're going to have evidence, which is the same thing you do in all your essays. For you guys, for STAR purposes, our evidence is going to come from text, okay? We're going to use text that we're going to read. Rhetorical appeals, we'll go into that later. I'm not going to go with it right now. And then here's what really defines an argument from writing other papers is you're going to have a counter argument. All right, you're going to discuss what does the other people say. What's wonderful about you teenagers is you do this naturally every day. Okay? I always tell people teenagers are the greatest arguers in the world because you constantly, every moment of your life is an argument trying to prove something. Right? How many of y'all want to go ask mom or dad for money and you already say before you ask, look, I know you're going to say no, right? And then you tell them why you need it. That's what the counter argument does, okay? So it's something that we'll talk about a little bit. And like I said, you guys are so good at it. I know we're going to do great today. Argument text, argument claim, implicit or explicit stated. We talked about this last week. Implicitly and explicitly is when you say something directly, or sometimes you kind of go around about how you say it, right? You give some, use those authors of words, figurative language and things like that. And we'll talk a little bit about that, why it makes it more interesting for the reader or how it makes your argument better. Evidence, you want to be logical, anecdotal. That is where you kind of use a story or something where you tell something to make your evidence. Rhetorical appeals, this is the part that I told you. We are going to talk about this, but we're going to do a day where we do a whole lesson over this, where you guys will work on it. Ethos, pathos, and logos. And that's more like when you see your commercials and you see advertisement, it's the way that you appeal to people. Okay? Talk to y'all about how you speak and how you pose questions, okay? And we'll practice all this as we move along. Gotta move faster, guys. I will take my time a little bit with this. All right, when analyzing argument test, you're going to identify the parts of the text. This is something today I want you to do as I'm going to give you your text is identify, okay? I'll walk around and give you guys time to do this, and we'll make sure that you're identifying what you're looking at. What did I say the most important part today about is your claim, okay? That's the main thing. When you guys leave here today for your exit ticket, you're going to show me that you can state a claim, okay? And we'll talk about that. But that's the main thing. Can you recognize the claim and can you state a claim? Because if you can't do that, the rest of it doesn't make sense. All right, same thing with a thesis. If you don't do a thesis, nothing else will follow, okay? Evidence, we'll look with that today. I'm not as stressed about it. We'll work on that as the year goes on, but we will start developing how we pull our evidence, right? All right. Just like last week, I want to make sure that y'all have some questions in your mind as we're going through the class today, okay? These are some that actually the district created. They're not the ones that I did, but I think they're really good. That's why I used them. Has the author created a strong claim? And this is what you're going to ask yourself. Every time you're writing an argument, you're going to say, is my claim strong, right? Am I making something that I know that I can fight this argument and people are going to see what I'm saying, okay? Which we do that naturally in life, but sometimes we don't analyze it. Has the author used rhetorical devices, appeals, and things like that? You're going to look at what the writer's writing, and that's going to help you know how to do those things. I think that the best way to model for a writer is to go through and read other people's stuff, right? Hopefully this year I can find some people can give me some of the old things that have been on STAR tests that we can pull up and show people argumentative writings to help you guys look at it. I will give y'all a little secret about the STAR test. When you do that, there's a part called revising and editing, and that actually is a high school student's essay that they wrote. And so you can use that as a model when you're writing your essay for STAR. So a little nugget for you, which we'll talk more about that later. Has the author presented a counter argument? And like I said, this is a real defining part of making an argument. Is you can't just argue something. You have to tell someone this is what other people are arguing, and then you're going to disprove it. You're going to say that it's not what it is. Okay? So that's a big part that we'll look at today. All right. I'm going to move along. Any questions about that so far? Well, let's look at what we're talking about. All right. By the way, I will have this resource for them. That's why I liked it. I wanted to use this. It actually has the writing right there that they can go through and annotate and underline and identify the different parts of this argument. And then they have a little part that they can write the notes on that they can work along with it, okay? So first, I want y'all to take a chance, look at what you have in front of you. Go ahead and read that. I'll give you a few minutes. You'll read that for a second. All right? Now, let's look at this. I'm going to read a little bit. Y'all tell me, what do you think that is happening here? I've had my fair share of political discourse with friends and family. Do you think they're introducing what we're about to talk about? Mm-hmm. Right. What would you call that in a writing? Anybody? It is a little bit. It is a thesis. It is an introduction because you're talking about it. But it also has a little bit of a hook, right? There's a little bit of a hook of how we bring them in. And they're doing that with kind of a rhetorical device, right? They're stating something without you actually, are you making a decision on anything with that? Mm-hmm. No, right? So it's kind of saying to you, hey, this is what we're talking about, but it's giving you a reason that they're bringing this in, okay?
Sir, what's political discourse?
Political discourse, that's a great question. Well, first of all, political is when you're talking about the way that we speak with different views and different things that are happening in our society, in our family, religion, whatever. Those are different political things. And then discourse means that you have a disagreement, right? That two people are going two different ways. Just like in math, right? Or science. You have two energies going to different things. It's going to cause a little bit of friction. That is what discourse is. So two people are seeing different things. That's a great question. Thank you for that. And by the way, do we sometimes disagree with friends and family? Absolutely. And do you want to always fight with your friends and family?
Yes.
Well, this is what this conversation is about, is how do you do that and keep it? So right here it says, these conversations escalate quickly and infuriate easily, but haven't destroyed my relationships. So this is what their claim is that we can argue with friends and family, right? But then there's a way to do that where you don't destroy the relationship. And that's what they're talking about a little bit in this article. Does that make sense? Yeah. And some people in this world, believe me, I've met them, that the minute you get in an argument or fight with them and you say something, they're done with you, right? They're walking around turning their back on you. So that's kind of what we're talking. And I think all of us can relate to that and understand. So that's what we'll do right now, where it starts talking about the quotes, starts talking about some of the different parts that they'll go through, and I'll go through that with them. And then for their exit ticket, I will give them a prompt right here, and they will actually take this prompt. I'll go through it. Do I expect them to do a perfect job today on this? No, this is just the introduction. But this is going to give me an assessment of where you're at. Mm-hmm. I don't even need them to write a full argument. I just want to see, first of all, can they make a claim? And then what do they say about that claim afterwards? How is their writing? How does their sentence structure look? I'm gonna be evaluating those things today more than anything. And then I will build on that and start showing them how to tweak it and how to make it look better, right? So that's my class, that's my lesson.
Awesome, great.